The top stories tonight in Y News. The Philippines COVID-19 death toll surpassed the 8,000 mark.
The World Health Organization warns against using Remdesivir for COVID-19 treatment.
66% of Filipinos expressed their willingness to get vaccinated for COVID-19 based on a latest survey. The government's pandemic task force has allowed to relax quarantine restrictions for tourism and disaster response purposes.
To impose fines on telecommunication companies and service providers that will fail to deliver their advertised internet speeds.
And a Filipino inventor wins a global prize for turning vegetable waste into renewable energy. Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Friday, November 20, 2020. I am Hardin Delgado.
Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the country and in other parts of the world. I'm Angelo Castro III.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website, untvweb.com. I am William Theo.
First in the news, the World Health Organization, or WHO, has issued a conditional recommendation against the use of Remdesivir on hospitalized patients, regardless of disease severity. The recommendation, developed by an international guideline development group, includes 28 clinical care experts, 4 patient partners, and 1 ethicist. Kath Dumaraos will tell us why.
The World Health Organization, or WHO, has warned against the use of the antiviral drug Remdesivir, as there is no existing evidence it improves survival among hospitalized COVID-19 patients. The drug, which is approved in the UK and Europe and for emergency use in the US, was used to treat US President Donald Trump in hospital. International experts, part of the WHO guideline development group, said the drug isn't recommended for patients admitted to hospital for COVID-19, regardless of the severity of their illness. The WHO recommendation, published in the British Medical Journal, was based on an evidence review that included data from 4 international randomized trials among more than 7,000 hospitalized patients. After reviewing the evidence, the panel concluded that Remdesivir has no meaningful effect on death rates or other important outcomes for patients. The antiviral is one of only 2 medicines currently authorized to treat COVID-19 patients across the world. It has been approval for use in the United States, the European Union, and other countries after initial research found it may shorten recovery time in some COVID-19 patients. Made by the U.S. company Gilead, the drug is administered through intravenous infusion for 5 to 10 days at a cost of $2,550 or more than 100,000 pesos per treatment course. Kat Dumaraos, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
A recent survey reveals that 6 out of 10 Filipino adults have expressed their willingness to get vaccinated now if the vaccine against the coronavirus disease is already available. Nina Armilio will tell us why.
The latest Social Weather Stations, or SWS survey, revealed that around 66% of adult Filipinos are willing to get the vaccine for COVID-19 if it is available now. According to the survey, 32% of the said number agreed they would definitely get the vaccine. Meanwhile, 34% said they would probably get the vaccine, and the remaining 31% said they are unwilling to get it. The survey conducted among 1,249 adult Filipinos was held from September 17 to 20 using mobile phone and computer-assisted telephone interviews. Mindanao recorded the highest number of Filipinos willing to get the vaccine at 73%, followed by Visayas at 69%, Metro Manila at 64%, and Luzon at 61%. However, unwillingness to get the COVID-19 vaccine is slightly higher in Metro Manila and Luzon at 34% each than in the Visayas and Mindanao at 29% and 25% respectively. Presidential spokesperson Secretary Harry Roque welcomed the result of the survey, saying it reflects the public's trust in the government's vaccination program. Nina Armilio, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
In other news, Davao City has reverted to a stricter quarantine status until the end of the month. Victor Cosare will tell us why.
The city of Davao was placed under General Community Quarantine or GCQ effective Friday, November 20 until November 30 following the rise of coronavirus. In a statement, Presidential spokesman Harry Roque said that the Interagency Task Force or IATF for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases approved the immediate reversion of Davao City to a stricter quarantine classification during their meeting on Thursday. A one-hospital command center will also be established in the city to ensure an efficient referral system as private hospitals are mandated to increase their ward bed occupancy up to 30%. Law enforcement agencies are likewise directed to assist in the enforcement of granular lockdowns upon affected communities or clusters and, if necessary, deploy personnel in the city. Melquiades Feliciano, Deputy Chief Implementer of the National Task Force Against COVID-19 for the cities and Bacolod and Cebu, has been assigned to head the teams to be deployed in Davao City to assist in the response activities. Data from the Department of Health Region 11 showed that as of November 19, Davao City has recorded 5,520 COVID-19 cases, 1,874 of which are active. The Regional Interagency Task Force earlier declared Davao City as a restricted local government unit, which limits the movement and entry of travelers who will be visiting the city by either air, land, or sea to curb the rising coronavirus infections. Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte Carpio issued Executive Order Number 63, which details the requirements and the list of authorized persons outside residence allowed entry to the city. Victor Cosare, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Meanwhile, the death toll from COVID-19 in the country breached the 8,000 mark today, according to the Department of Health, or DOH. The latest case bulletin showed an additional 27 fatalities, driving the death toll to 8,025. The DOH also reported 1,639 new cases of COVID-19, raising the total case count of the Philippines to 415,067, of which 31,805 are active cases. Of the active cases, 84.7% are mild, 8.1% are asymptomatic, 4.5% are critical, and 2.4% are severe. Davao City once again topped the list of areas with the highest number of new cases with 113, followed by Laguna with 76, Quezon City with 75, Rizal with 75 as well, and Cavite with 63. There were also 305 new recoveries, raising the total number of survivors to 375,237.
A joint task force from the Metro Manila Development Authority, or MMDA, and the Pasay City government conducted a clearing operation today along the stretch of Taft Avenue. Asher Kadapan Jr. tells us why.
The local government of Pasay City implemented another road clearing operation in Baclaran area today. It aims to free the roads and sidewalks from any obstruction, particularly ambulant vendors that are rampant in the market area.
Pati yung mga safety and protection ng mga mamamayan, lalo na kung may emergency na dati walang madaanan, ang tagal-tagal pa makadating ng bombero or ng mga ambulansya. Pero nung time na na-clear, sila mismo, mga taong nakatira doon sa mga lugar na appreciate po yung kagandahan ng clearing operation.
To help displace vendors, the Pasay City government once again provides 150 stalls along Ross Boulevard scheduled to open on November 27. But the vendors appeal to the authorities to allow them with their livelihood while the stalls are still being constructed.
November 27 pa po kami ilalagay doon. Paano na lang po ang araw-araw namin ngayon, mamayang gabi? Bukas, next day po, isang linggo. Paano na lang po? Tao rin kami na katulad ninyo na gustong kumain po.
Nakikiusap po kami sa inyo kung pwede po kahit December po makalatag po kami para po makabawi naman po kami sa pandemya na dumaan sa atin. Ilang buwan na rin po kasi kami hindi nakakalatag ng maayos. Para naman po may pantustos kami kasi umuupa po kami ng bahay, nagbabayad ng kuryente at saka tubig.
But the local chief executive asks her constituents to understand and cooperate with the government for the orderliness and safety of the majority. Mayor Calixto Robiano also explains that these are part of the preparations for the reopening of night market in Baclaran, on which is first in Metro Manila since community quarantine restrictions were implemented due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The LGU also puts in place some health and safety measures as it expects influx of market goers as the holiday season approaches.
Meron po yung color coding na kung kailan sila magtitinda. And then, meron pa rin pong physical distance, even the stalls. Tapos po may entry points lang kaming inassign kung saan, at meron kaming mga yung thermometer, mga hand washing.
Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
2 more U-turn slots along EDSA will be closed starting Monday, November 23, in line with the EDSA busway project. The said move aims to provide faster mobility for the commuting public. The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority, or MMDA, said in an advisory. Traffic advisory signage was installed in the vicinity for the closure of the 2 U-turn slots located along EDSA near Oliveros Drive and Balintawak Market. Affected motorists are advised to take the following detour route. From northbound going to southbound, affected vehicles may take the Balintawak Interchange General Malvar Bagong Barrio U-turn slot. From southbound going northbound, affected vehicles may take Quezon Avenue Service Road U-turn. The EDSA busway designates the innermost lane of EDSA as an exclusive lane for public utility buses traveling along the National Highway from Monumento in Caloocan to SM Mall of Asia in Pasay City.
And for those watching us on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on the right side of your screen and ring the bell for notification. You may also follow us on Facebook.
Local government officials from Claveria, Cagayan are worried about their municipal mayor as she is barely seen in public after suffering from a stroke. Aiko Miguel explains why.
Some Claveria, Cagayan residents revealed to the UNTV news team that it was a long time that they saw their mayor in public. The residents who refused to appear on camera and tell their names said Mayor Celia Layos recently had a stroke and is undergoing recovery. But some local officials are questioning her capacity to lead their municipality. According to Vice Mayor Solferino Agra Jr., they have filed a complaint to the Regional Trial Court of Sanchez Mira, Cagayan regarding their concern.
I cannot force myself to become the acting mayor because she is still the mayor. But as you have said, sabi ng mga tao sa iyo na almost 1 year na hindi nila nakikita. Tama yun. And that is violation in the local government code, section 444 letter C. But during the incumbency of the mayor shall perform her duties in the municipal pool.
Vice Mayor Agra also clarified he is not after the position, but is in accordance to the law that when a mayor cannot fulfill her full-time duties, it is appropriate to have an alter ego.
Wala tayong magagawa dahil yun ang patakaran ng local government code na sabi na dapat korte ang mag-decide. Huwag kayong mag-alala dahil ginawa ko naman yung parte ko. At I question the legality of the incapacity of the mayor to perform her duties. Kaya mag-antay lang sila at hopefully magkaroon ng decision before year-end or January.
They are also questioning her capacity to sign important documents of their municipality. The UNTV News acquired some documents showing the differences on her signature. The local officials claim that they are not sure if the incumbent mayor is still the one signing the document. Her fellow officials acknowledge her sacrifices for their town, but she has to fully recover to perform her duties well, as they claim.
Gusto na ng taong bayan na si mayor namin magpahinga muna dahil mahal na namin yung mayor namin. Pero kailangan niya ang magpahinga. Babalik na lang siya ulit kapag siya pwede nang makapagtrabaho physically and mentally.
On the other hand, Mayor Layos Escap insists that she is still in recovery. Dr. Pulido, her private secretary, said she is vulnerable to COVID-19, so she is barely seen in the public. Mayor Layos Escap also assures she can still perform her duties well. According to Dr. Pulido, no legislation is often approved by the Sangguniang Bayan members because they are being opposed by Vice Mayor Agra's allies who are members of it.
Vice Mayor namin is political enemy of the mayor since the longest time. 5 sa kanila, sa Sangguniang Bayan members, nasa kabila din. Oppositionist lahat yan. 5 yan sa amin. Kaya walang nangyayari sa SB. Alam mo kung bakit? Pagdating sa botohan, 5-5.
Dr. Pulido also offered the UNTV News team to visit Mayor Layos to her home.
I will bring you to her. Ako magbabayad ng rapid antigen test mo. And I will bring you to her. And makikita mo kung sino mga nandun na mga constituents.
Mayor Layos Escamp sent pictures to prove she is attending meetings and gatherings as a mayor. They also know a case was filed by Vice Mayor Agra against her. Regional Trial Court of Sanchez Mira, Cagayan is expected to issue a decision before the year ends on Claveria, Cagayan's leadership. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Department of Health, or DOH, warned the public against the possible outbreak of waterborne and foodborne illnesses, influenza-like illnesses, leptospirosis, and dengue or wild diseases after consecutive typhoons hit the country. According to the Health Department, the widespread flooding and damage caused by the typhoons have brought health hazards to the public, especially the victims staying in evacuation centers. Health Secretary Francisco Duque III assured the department and local government units are prepared to prevent any possible outbreaks. He also added that the DOH has released guidelines to its regional offices for contingency measures. Duque also cited the importance of practicing minimum health and safety protocols in evacuation centers.
Prices of some vegetables in Metro Manila went up following the recent typhoon. Meanwhile, the Department of Agriculture plans to import rice starting next year. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
The recent typhoons have negatively affected the country's agriculture sector, which billions worth of damages, and the effects can be seen on prices of vegetables. In Mega Q-Mart in Quezon City, the price of bitter gourd tripled to 300 pesos per kilogram compared with only 100 pesos per kilogram last November 2. Prices of eggplant and snake beans also doubled, while snow cabbage and tomato prices also increased. Highland vegetables prices like cabbage increases by almost 100%, while there is also an increase in prices of carrots and Baguio beans. The Department of Agriculture is installing Kadiwa stores in different parts of Metro Manila to help cooperatives sell their products at a low price.
Meron pa naman po tayong pagkukunan bukod dun sa mga lugar na tinamaan ng bagyo. Ang supply po, steady supply naman po ng gulay dito po sa Metro Manila in particular.
The prices of pork is still more than 300 pesos per kilogram despite the price freeze being implemented in Luzon due to the declaration of state of calamity. DA said they are working to complement the prices of pork with the suggested retail price. Meanwhile, Agriculture Secretary William Dar said typhoon damage to agriculture is now at 12.3 billion pesos. They are expecting that the recent weather events will affect the total production of rice but still can reach 20 million metric tons this year. This will represent the 91% of the country's sufficiency level. But the official assures the public that the country has sufficient supply and projected to have stock for 88 days by the end of the year. Dar said the country may resort in importing by next year the 9% projected deficiency in rice production. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue, we serve the people, we give glory to God.
Airline companies operating domestic flights will no longer be required to reserve a portion of the aircraft cabin as an isolation area for passengers showing symptoms of the novel coronavirus disease. The government interagency task force for IATF leading the COVID-19 response said in a resolution approved on Thursday. The IATF said this measure shall no longer be mandated to be part of the COVID-19 health protocols for domestic flights. The lifting of this requirement was upon the recommendation of the Department of Transportation and the Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines. The IATF has also directed local government units or LGUs to relax entry protocols such as test upon arrival requirement imposed upon airline crew, layovers, or positioning due to emergency situations which include typhoons, volcanic activities, diversions, and emergency landings, and other similar unforeseen and time-sensitive evacuation. Airline crew members are also permitted to temporarily billet in accommodation establishments under a bubble concept supervised by the LGU.
The 14.1 billion peso proposed 2021 budget of the Department of Information and Communications Technology or DICT has been deemed submitted in today's Senate plenary deliberations. However, its sponsor, Senator Panfilo Lacson, repeatedly appealed to his colleagues to increase the funding allocated for the National Broadband Program. The Executive Department only allotted 902 million pesos for the program under the National Expenditure Program. The Senate Finance Committee already added 3 billion pesos on top of the House version's 2 billion peso augmentation, making the total proposed budget for the program to 5.9 billion pesos. But despite the increase initiated by both houses of Congress, the increased funding is still inadequate compared to what the DICT needs to complete the program, which is 18 billion pesos. Lacson said the 5.9 billion peso allocation can still cover the phase 1 of the program, but it will exclude several areas including regions 1 and 2 and island provinces such as Palawan.
This is the new normal. Lahat umaasa sa internet connection, including DepEd, SUCs, and practically all government agencies. If we are able to finance the 18 billion requirement, yung telcos na magsusubscribe sa gobyerno, hindi na sila kailangan magtayo pa mga towers, antena na lamang kasi fiber na ito. Because the private telcos will now be at the mercy of government. Wala na silang reason para hindi mag-deliver.
According to Lacson, the government could save 34.2 billion pesos in 5 years or 700 million pesos in the first year if the National Broadband Program be completed next year. This does not include yet the expected savings of local government units. Currently, according to lawmakers, the country has more or less 20,000 cell sites. So far, Lacson said telecommunication companies have built 1,200 cell sites since the Bayanihan to Recover as One Act Act, also known as the Bayanihan 2, passed into law, which suspended most of the permit requirements for building telco towers for 3 years. Telcos only need to secure a building permit and height clearance permit from the Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines. With this provision in place, Lacson said up to 20,000 cell sites can be built in the coming years. The country needs an additional 50,000 cell towers to reach the ideal number of 70,000 cell sites. The Department of the Information and Communications Technology, or DICT, wants higher penalties to telecommunication companies that will fail to deliver their promised internet speed. In today's Senate plenary deliberations, Senator Grace Poe, who also chairs the Senate Committee on Public Services, asked Senator Panfilo Lacson, who sponsored the agency's budget, on how much penalty does the DICT deem just to impose to telco companies that are not delivering their advertised internet speeds. Lacson said the DICT recommends a 2 million peso per day penalty so that telcos will be compelled to deliver. However, the antiquated Public Services Act only provides a 200 peso per day fine. The senators are now pushing to amend the said law and revisit Republic Act 7925, or the Public Telecommunication Policy Act.
For those watching us on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on the right side of your screen and ring the bell for notification. You may also follow us on Facebook.
The Office of the Vice President and its partner, Kaya Natin Movement, have received more donations after receiving attacks from President Rodrigo Duterte. Vincent Arboleda will tell us why live. Vincent?
Diego, Vice President Leni Robredo says that majority of the messages accompanying the donations to their office and its partner Kaya Natin Movement said that donors wanted to help the typhoon victims and is also a way to show their appreciation on the office of the Vice President's kind of work. According to VP Robredo, after being insulted and lambasted on national TV, donations to their partner Kaya Natin Movement has reached 50 million pesos. An additional 5 million pesos was also received by Kaya Natin just today, making the total donations to 55 million pesos. VP Leni also mentioned that her office have also been receiving an increase in in-kind donations. Repacking of relief goods also continue at the office of the Vice President. President Rodrigo Duterte aired his ire against VP Robredo last Tuesday after receiving reports that the Vice President was going out of her line in ordering the AFP and riding a C-130 plane loaded with relief goods from DSWD and NDRMC. All allegations were denied by VP Robredo, with Defense Secretary Delfino Lorenzana and Secretary Salvador Panelo sending apologies to the Vice President after commenting based on wrong reports. Diego, meanwhile, Vice President Robredo and her team continues to visit affected areas while giving relief goods to affected families. That's the latest live. Back to you, Diego.
Thank you, Vincent Arboleda.
The Department of Education, or DepEd, said that it will look into a learning material depicting a family of farmers living in stark poverty. Dante Amento tells us why.
A learning module with a picture of a farmer and his family went viral this week. It shows the family members are wearing impoverished clothes. The photo went viral online, earning negative comments from the netizens for the allegedly wrong depiction of farmers. Senator Francis Pangilinan took offense at the illustration, stressing that farmers deserve positive recognition for their contributions to society.
Parang kasuklam-suklam. No? We understand a vast majority of our farmers are poor, but to stereotype them, parang ano hong magiging mensahe sa ating mga kabataan na magiging hindi katanggap-tanggap ang maging magsasaka. Sana may paliwanag ito.
Senator Pia Cayetano, sponsor of the DepEd budget in the Senate plenary, on the other hand, said the issue has reached DepEd and it promised to investigate and issue a statement on the matter. Education Secretary Leonor Briones said the DepEd has a zero-tolerance policy against stereotyping and other forms of discrimination.
I think everyone can agree with that this is a wrongful and harmful depiction of our farmers who feed us. And the DepEd acknowledges that they know of the problem and the decision was to issue an explanation.
DepEd has been heavily criticized for a number of error-filled modules spotted by netizens since the school year under the distance learning setup started. In many instances, DepEd has disowned the modules found with errors, noting that these were not quality assured by the central office. Dan Piamento, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
No matter how strong a typhoon that may come, Filipinos remain optimistic and hopeful. We never fail to show the spirit of Bayanihan and help one another in times of need. Here's John Nano to tell the story.
The resilience of Filipinos has once again been tested when consecutive typhoons battered the country this past few weeks. Weather disturbances as strong as super typhoon categories are not new to us Filipinos. In fact, at least 20 typhoons entered the country in a year. But this time around, we felt not just the wrath of nature, but also a pandemic that has affected millions of people around the world. Many have lost their jobs and their livelihood to the health and economic crisis. And once again, the determination and optimism of Filipinos have shown in the middle of a difficult time through the spirit of Bayanihan. Residents in the towns of Gataran and Amulong in Cagayan Province work hand in hand to unload the relief goods from this helicopter of the Philippine Air Force in an airdrop relief operation. Using a Philippine Air Force chopper, the sick were transported to the hospital after being trapped in an isolation area also in Cagayan. Meanwhile, personnel from the Philippine Army, Navy, Air Force, and the Philippine Coast Guard yet again showed their dedication to serve the Filipino nation by rescuing those who needed help. A lot of netizens were moved by these images, showing a PCG rescuer getting an infant out of harm's way using a basin. 2 police officers from the regional office too have been recognized for rescuing and helping a woman give birth despite the flood. Much help arrived from Metro Manila and various other provinces to bring relief and comfort to our kababayan in Cagayan. Even the Members Church of God International or MCGI have lent a helping hand to those who need it in this time of difficulty and dire moments for those greatly affected by the recent typhoons. MCGI has recently brought relief goods to the Bicolanos, and next week they will head for Cagayan Province to conduct a relief operation. In return, the Cagayanans thank and laud all those who did not forsake them, as well as reminded them that there is calm after a storm. Truly, Filipinos showed the one-of-a-kind virtue of Bayanihan in times it is needed the most. Joanano, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
And for the news abroad, here's Maria Latoza reporting live from Perth, Australia.
Good evening, William. The World Health Organization, or WHO, has warned that Europe will face a tough 6 months ahead as the continent becomes the COVID-19 epicenter again. Mavian Dog will give us the details live. Yes, Maeve, go ahead.
Marielle, the European continent recorded over 29,000 new COVID-19 deaths last week, and this made their COVID-19 deaths increase by 18%. WHO Europe Director Dr. Hans Kluge recently advised in a press briefing that Europe accounts for 28% of global cases and 26% of deaths cumulatively. In November alone, the European region has recorded over 15.7 million COVID-19 cases and nearly nearly 355,000 deaths. Due to this, Dr. Kluge expressed his concerns for the overwhelmed health systems, where the intensive care units in France are at 95% capacity, while Switzerland's units are at full capacity. Majority of the European countries reintroduced tight restrictions because of the second wave, to which Dr. Kluge encouragingly advised that the lockdowns curbed the infections and new cases were declining. Here's what Dr. Kluge said during the press briefing.
If we all act and those most privileged among us make an extra effort, we can make an impact. Thanks to your adhering to risk-reducing behavior, new weekly cases of COVID-19 decreased from over 2 million the week before last to approximately 1.8 million cases last week. It's a small signal, but it's a signal nevertheless.
Meanwhile, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said that the bloc could give conditional marketing authorization for 2 vaccines, BioNTech and Moderna, by the second half of December if there are no problems. According to Dr. Kluge, these vaccines represent a great hope in the war against the virus, but it will still be a tough 6 months for the European region. Back to you, Marielle.
All right, thank you, May, for that live report. Meanwhile, Facebook said it has made progress in curbing hate speech and other abusive content on its platform with improved automated tools complementing its human reviewers. More than 200 Facebook workers from around the world have accused the firm of forcing its content moderators back to the office despite the risks of contracting coronavirus. Earl Briones will tell us why live. Yes, Earl, good evening.
Marielle, Facebook Chief Executive Officer Mark Zuckerberg revealed that 22.1 million pieces of hate speech content in the third quarter of the year have either been removed, covered with a warning message, escalated to relevant external agencies, or even got the account disabled. Zuckerberg said pieces of hate speech content is slightly lower compared to this year's second quarter data of 22.5 million. Facebook also revealed their metric for hate speech by examining the representative sample of content seen on Facebook and focusing on views and how much content is seen or shared. Facebook's head of safety and integrity Guy Rosen tweeted the first ever release of Facebook's global data on prevalence of hate speech, which showed the company has proactively removed hate speech contents in the last quarter by almost 95%, both on Instagram and Facebook. Rosen further mentioned that from March 1 to November 3 period of US election alone, Facebook has removed 265,000 pieces of content, both from Instagram and Facebook in the US, for violating its voter interference policies. On the other hand, the Anti-Defamation League, or ADL, posted on their Facebook page saying even by using a cursory search on Facebook's website, it directs to white supremacist, racist, and anti-Semitic pages. Anti-Defamation League believes that there are still a lot of hate speech contents that are not removed. Meanwhile, an open letter from 200 Facebook content moderators was published in Foxglove. It stated that Facebook is risking their lives by forcing them to return to their workplace without hazard pay after months of allowing them to work from home. The letter also contained demands from the 200 content moderators for Facebook to offer hazard pay, maximize working from home to keep them and their families safe, and outsourcing, as well as offer a real health and psychiatric care for the employees as they bear the brunt of the mental health trauma associated with their work. Marielle?
That is Earl Briones from Australia. In Queensland, Australia, 49,155 people packed into a 52,000-seat stadium on Wednesday to watch the State of Origin Rugby League match in Lang Park Arena, which marks Australia's largest sporting event since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. According to latest data, Queensland has not recorded any cases of community transmission of COVID-19 in weeks. That is why the state's premier, Anastasia Palaszczuk, announced on Friday to ease more coronavirus restrictions to fill the Suncorp Stadium and cheer on Queensland's mighty Maroons. Queensland authorities lifted the coronavirus restrictions that allowed only 75% of the stadium capacity into 100% in time for the match. The Queensland Maroons were able to pull off their triumph against or over the New South Wales Blues in the game's season. And those are the reasons behind the news here in Australia and in other parts of the globe. For those watching us on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on the right side of your screen and ring the bell for notification. You may also follow us on Facebook. Back to you, William.
Thank you, Maria Latoza, live from Perth, Australia. A Filipino student bags a prestigious global prize for his sustainable invention. Marvy Delfin gives us more details live. Yes, Marvy, good evening.
Good evening, William. 27-year-old engineer Carvey Erin Marge from Mapua University has won the first ever sustainability prize in the James Dyson Award 2020 for his innovation called Aureus that uses rotting fruits and vegetable that puts the grain in green energy. Inspired by the plight of farmers in the Philippines who often lose much of their produce due to severe weather conditions, Aureus is made from new fluorescent material made out of crop waste that can harvest invisible ultraviolet or UV rays and turn it into electricity. It can be attached to a pre-existing structure or surface to convert the UV rays into visible light to generate electricity, regardless of whether it's sunny or cloudy. Unlike a conventional solar panels, Aureus works even when not directly facing the sun because it can pick up UV rays bouncing off buildings and vertical forms can be made. Maige first joined the competition back in 2018, but was forced back to the drawing board with his invention after the earlier version proved too costly. He said that winning the James Dyson Award is both a beginning and an end. It marked the end of years of doubting whether his idea would find global relevance. He wanted to create a better form of renewable energy that uses the world's natural resources, is close to people's lives, forging achievable paths towards a sustainable and regenerative future. James Dyson, founder and chief engineer at Dyson, said the novel material was impressive in the way it makes sustainable use of waste crops. He also credited Carvey's resolve and determination in persevering with the product's creation. Dyson further stated, "I wish him every success because as a farmer, I have always been concerned about covering fertile food-producing land in photovoltaic cells." This is the first time that James Dyson Award judges announced two winners of the competition from a record 1,800 entries despite the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic. The two overall winners each received a cash prize of £30,000 to further develop their inventions. The other overall international award went to 23-year-old postgraduate student Judith Gairo Benet for her Blue Box, which offers a simple home-based alternative to routine mammogram or breast cancer screening. William?
Yes, all right, Marvy. Thank you for that live report.
And those are the reasons behind the news, November 20, 2020. I am Harleen Delgado.
Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I'm Angelo Castro III.
Because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.